Welcome to day number 2. Today we're actually going to be starting the beginning of the tools and tricks that Google Flights has to offer. These are going to be the first few tricks that you can use to help find even better pricing than what we found in day number 1. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Now, this is where you can use all of the tools and tricks to see, let's just see, I don't know if we can, but let's just see if we can beat that $521 price. Okay, I'm gonna keep it at LA to Paris. I'm gonna keep the same dates, the same parameters, everything, and let's go ahead and search again. Okay, 526 is still coming up as the best price. I know it said 521 on the end screen, and but for these purposes, let's just say it's 526 is the cheapest. Okay, here are the little things that you can use that might make a difference, might. The first one is the date grid right here. I don't know if you saw that. It's right here, date grid. And what this does is lets you compare. So say I was flexible on my January 22nd. Say I didn't need to go January 22nd. Say I could maybe leave Saturday, or I could maybe leave Wednesday or Thursday. I could simply go in here and find the best combination. So say I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to leave Wednesday, but I'm going to come back on Tuesday. Or I'm going to leave Wednesday and I want to extend it and I want to come back on Monday. It'll tell you what the prices are so that you can explore other potential options. So it's looking like in January, for this particular situation, it's looking like 526 is indeed the cheapest price within these couple of weeks. And you can scroll through here and see if you can find anything cheaper that you might prefer to do. The other thing you could do is right here, it says price graph. If you're more of a visual person, it could simply show you by date. So this is if you leave. Now remember, for this, we're going for 1 week. So it's keeping it, if you notice here, it is keeping it to 1 week, Saturday the 16th to Saturday the 23rd. So it's going to keep your 1 week parameters, but it'll show you if you leave Monday to Monday, Friday to Friday, Saturday to Saturday, and let you see, oh, look, if I go Wednesday to Wednesday, maybe it's a little cheaper than Saturday to Saturday. So this is just a visual representation of what prices are doing. As you see, as you click through, you can get into other months and see what the trends are in those months. And maybe you might change your mind and decide, you know what, let's go in April instead and let's not go in January. Okay, that is trick number 1, is to look at pricing and look to see if maybe a slight change in the day that you leave might make a big difference. I've come on here before and saved $50, $100 or more simply by changing the day I leave or the day I return, and it makes a big difference. Number 1. Okay, the second one that you want to do, and that's, you can go to Price Graph directly right here. The second one I like to do is go to nearby airports. Now, one of the tricks of getting the best rates available is being flexible on your airports, both the airport you're leaving from, but also the airport you're going into. Right now it's on destination airports, but I want to start at origin airports and show you what I mean. So right now we're only checking LA, but if I see a price of 526, this actually gives me all of the area airports and what the prices are. For instance, Burbank, when I hover over Burbank, you can see on the map, see how it says 24 minutes and it shows me where Burbank is in relation to LA. If I go down here to Orange County, it shows me that's 40 minutes away and where it is in relation. If I come down here to San Diego, see how it changed. It says it's an hour and 53 minutes. So you can hover over these and see how far they are away from where you want to be, where your original choice was. And you can decide whether or not the other price is better. So right now it's showing LA is still the cheapest. But I have been on here before, and simply by leaving out of Orange County or Burbank or San Diego, I have saved a couple $100. So it's always worth looking through to see if there's anything cheaper anywhere close to your destination or where you're leaving from that can save you some money. In this case, in this particular scenario, it looks like LA is still the best and perhaps San Diego is tied for that. So depending on where you live, you might decide whether you want to still go out of LA or if you wanted to go out of San Diego. That would be your choice at that point. If I wanted to check San Diego, I would just simply click it it adds it to our parameters. And then if I back out of here, it'll add it as a possibility. Like now, this flight, it added a new flight at 6:30 from same thing, JetBlue and Air Portugal, but now it's leaving out of San Diego. So it just added that option to our list of options, original options that we had. And then down here is that original one, LA to Paris. So that is where you can check that option. Now that was the leaving airport. Let's check the destination airport. And as you can see, it is still the same as before. So it'll check, I'm just waiting for the map to populate here. But basically right now it is coming into Orly. That's where the cheapest price was. But if you wanted to come into Charles de Gaulle, you could see what that price difference is. And there might be different times of the year when Charles de Gaulle is cheaper than Orly. And you would just simply, this is the way that you could look just to double check and make sure you're getting the absolute best rate. Because if you're going to Paris, look, Orly is here, 34 minutes from Paris. Charles de Gaulle is only 38 minutes away. That's nothing. I mean, if you're renting a car or taking an Uber or something along those natures, even a taxi, it would be a very simple switch for you to go between Orly and Charles de Gaulle. It wouldn't be a big deal. But if you scroll through, you can actually go farther. So say you wanted to come into Brussels. Yes, it's 3 hours away from Paris, but maybe you wanted to add that onto your vacation and see a little bit of Brussels and maybe take a nice road trip or train down to Paris. And it might be something that if it saves you enough money, might be worth making that change. And it goes even farther. You can literally, I could pull this out and explore all of Europe and find out where the cheapest place to go is into Europe, and then decide if I want to go into that airport. So see how I keep coming back. Luxembourg is almost 4 hours away, but the price is cheaper. This is a great way to just double check and make sure you're getting the right combination of airports so that you're getting the best rate. Now, in addition to the best rate, let's add Brussels just so we can see. You're not simply looking for money here. You also want to look at your actual flight, the times that you're coming and going, and the length of your flight, how many stops you have, because the price difference might not be enough to make it worth it for you to have 3 stops and an overnight layover. That might not be worth it for you to save $20 or even $100. So always look to see if there's maybe it's a little bit more, but if it's a much better flight combination for you, you might want to make that change. My suggestion is not making it about price. And if you're budget conscious and you have to go for the absolute cheapest, then that is fine. There's no problem with that. But if you have the flexibility in your budget, and you can always look at the other little details so that you're making the right decision for what time you feel like leaving, what time you feel like getting up in the morning, when you want to arrive. Like for instance, if you're arriving at 9:25 in the morning, consider your layover, how tired you are, if that's going to be a good thing, if that's a bad thing, or if you'd rather arrive closer to when you can go to bed, things of that nature. You also want to consider how many stops, if there's an overnight layover, and if you're willing to do that. So look more closely at each flight and decide if it's worth it or not. But that's part of the reason I like adding nearby airports, not only to find the better price, but maybe it's a better option. Maybe there's a better combination that you would rather do. So those are those tricks. The other thing I want to show you is up here where it says more. And always make sure you have show separate tickets toggled on. Now, the reason for this is what it does is it also, not only does it look at round trip airfare, it also looks at, is it cheaper if I were to buy 2 one-way tickets? So 1 ticket, Paris or Los Angeles to Paris, and then a totally separate ticket, Paris back to Los Angeles. It'll price out 2 one-way tickets and round trip tickets and tell you which is cheaper. Because there are times when 2 one-way tickets is cheaper. And I've actually saved a lot of money that way. And then there are other times when round trip is better. So I always have this toggled on because it Google checks it for you. And it's the only website I found so far that does that. And that's why part of the reason why I really like Google Flights. So always make sure that that's on, because if they end up being two one-ways or better, it'll tell you and it'll help you make that booking so you can save the most money possible. Okay, the other feature that I want to talk to you about is connecting airports. Now, we're going to talk about this in another video, where we're going to talk about all of the little details you want to consider when you are traveling. And one of those is connection times, as far as if you have a stopover, how long that layover is. But another component to that is the actual airport the stopover is in. For instance, say you have a 30-minute stopover, but it is in, for instance, Atlanta or Dallas or Chicago or Orlando. Airports that are very, very large, and you could arrive in this terminal and your outgoing flight could be outside of the airport into an entirely separate terminal, which could take you 30 to 40 minutes just simply to get to. Those are things you want to consider when you are making your flight arrangements. Because if you only have 30 minutes to get to your new flight and it's in an entirely separate terminal, you're not going to make it. And then if your flight is delayed for any reason, then you're even more problematic and not going to make it. So one of the things you want to consider is not only the layover duration, but also the layover city, the layover airport. And if you scroll through here and you see all the connecting airports, and you know there's ones that you do not want to go through, you already know it's going to be a headache and you don't want to deal with it, you can simply uncheck it, and that will take that off of your potential options. Not particularly care about Istanbul or Las Vegas. I just wanted to show you this possibility. The other thing you can do is, if you have a specific time, like say you're leaving this Friday, but you work and you want to be able to say, okay, well, I can't leave until the evening anyway. You can simply move it here and it'll adjust your results for you. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back down. Same thing with your return flight. You can change when you want to have it come in or out. So you're not getting up at 6 a.m. on your final day in vacation if you want to sleep in a little later. Pricing, we've already talked about that, where you can toggle it on and restrict the price. I don't usually do that from this screen. I usually only do that when I'm exploring destinations, because I just want to know what all of my options are so I can make the choice. I don't want to constrict it and then maybe that $1 difference opened it up to something else that I would rather have. Also airlines, if you happen to belong to a specific airline, you can restrict that there. If you wanted to restrict the number of stops that you have, if you don't want 2 stops, if you want nonstop, you can restrict it here. And then we talked about this during the baggage. We talked about this during Google Exploration. If you say how many carry-on bags you want, it will affect this price, because sometimes airlines are going to charge you for carry-on bag, or not carry-on bags, but they're going to charge you for check-on bags, but they might restrict carry-on bags. If you add that information here, it'll update the price to reflect the accurate price you're going to pay for those checked bags or carry-on bags. So you always want to add those in. Another thing I want to talk to you about from this screen here is track prices. Now, if you are booking out a ways, say for instance, in our situation, we're booking in January, our flight is in January, and right now where we are, I'm in August. Say I don't have to buy it right now. I can wait. I can wait a week. I can wait a month to book my flight. What I'll do is I will toggle this on, track prices on. And what Google will do is they will watch the flights for you. They'll watch the airlines for you. And every time there's a price change, it's going to email you and tell you that there's a price change. So if prices start going up, if prices go down, I can look and decide, prices are going down, I'm going to buy it now. So it's a great way to keep track of the flights that you're most interested in, and Google will watch it for you and send you updates every time there's a price change, and then you can decide what you want to do, if you want to go ahead and buy or wait longer, or what you want to do. Okay, so that is everything, all of the little tips and tricks that you can use from this screen. There are more, however. So that is the beginning of the tools and tricks that you can use in Google Flights in order to bring that price down and find better flights. Stay tuned for the third and final in our series, where we're going to cover the last few tips and tricks, as well as knowing when to buy, because when you actually purchase your ticket, it actually matters. So in the meantime, if you'd like to learn more of those tips and tricks for finding the cheapest airfare, our top tips for always finding the cheapest airfare, take a look at this video here. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd consider subscribing, we'd love to have you join us. And I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.